can express God's nature. Therefore, no name can be attributed to him that we understand. Now, there are two Hebrew words that we have to consider when it comes to understanding God: Elohim and Jehovah. Elohim in Hebrew means God. It's a general title for God, okay? If I were speaking Hebrew in the following sentences, if I said Satan is the god of this world, or God created the heavens and the earth, or Ozzy Osbourne is the god of rock, all of those where the word God is used, if I was speaking Hebrew, I would use the word Elohim. So I would say Satan is the Elohim of this world. Elohim created the heavens and the earth, and Ozzy Osbourne is the Elohim of rock. It's a title. And throughout the Old Testament, you can see that that word Elohim is just a title for the name or title of God. Now, the personal name of God, the eternal, the self-existing, the one and only God, the I am, being monotheistic, one God, is a word we pronounce as Jehovah. And this name, which is a very bad pronunciation on our part, let me tell you, Jehovah is not right. It represents the letters YHWH, okay? Those are just all consonantal letters. And it's really probably more pronounced Yahweh. But we say Jehovah, same word, okay? And it is not a title, but it's a proper noun for God. It's his name. Listen, in Isaiah 42:8, he says, I am the YHWH. He says, that is my name, okay? And my glory will I not give to another, neither my praise to graven images. It's long been questioned, what does the YHWH, not what does, how do we pronounce that? Now, Americans say Jehovah. Yehu is another one. Yeveh is another one. Yevi, Jehu, Yahu, Yahu, Jahiel, and Jove are all just as good names as pronunciations as Jehovah for the YHWH. It has also been wondered at what the name means. And it's really interesting, but God himself sort of identifies what his own name means in Exodus 34. Moses had shattered the tablets. He got ticked off at the children of Israel, and he broke the first tablets, and God said, okay, come back up to the mount, and we're going to make some more, all right? Or you're going to make some more. And it reads in Exodus 34, beginning in verse 5, and the Lord descended in a cloud and stood with Moses there and proclaimed the name of the YHWH. And the Lord passed before Moses and proclaimed the YHWH, the YHWH Elohim. Okay? He said the Jehovah, as we pronounce it, Elohim. All right? Merciful and gracious, long-suffering and abundant in goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression of sin, and that by no means will clear the guilty. The words of God's own mouth contain a partial interpretation of what the YHWH means. Now, the YHWH, the Yahweh, is known by a very large Greek technical word as the tetragrammaton, okay? And that's what it means, those four letters. Listen to this, almost every time when reading the Old Testament, when we see the word God, G-O-D, uppercase G-O-D, that is the Hebrew word Elohim, no matter who it's talking about, the title. Then when we see the word Lord, capital L, capital O-R-D, but the whole word shrunken down to fit the text, but Lord is all capitalized, it's the Hebrew word for the YHWH, for Jehovah, for Yahweh, all right? Now, Elohim and Yahweh are used interchangeably, completely within the Old Testament. They are always used as one and the same. This is very important to our discussion today. We're going to show you a bunch of scriptures. Let me read some to you and just listen to this so you can identify who Jesus was. In Deuteronomy 4:35 it says, unto thee it was showed that thou mightest know that the Lord, Yahweh, he is God, Elohim. There is none else beside him. That verse says that Yahweh is God, there is no other. Okay? Psalms 103. Know ye that Yahweh, he is God. So Jehovah, he is God. It is he that has made us and not we ourselves. We are his people and the sheep of his pasture. 1 Kings 18:39 says, and when all the people saw it, they fell on their faces and they said, the Jehovah, he is Elohim. The Jehovah, he is the Elohim. Now, that's really important because the in that statement where it says, Jehovah, he is the Elohim, what that is saying is in linguistics, the is the definite article. It means there cannot be any other. Jehovah, he is the big T-H-E God. You got that? There's no Elohim Father. There's no Jehovah Son. This is Jehovah is God, and they are interchangeable. And then in Psalm 97:9, just to give you another example, it says, for thou, Jehovah, art high above all the earth. Thou art exalted above all, it says, gods. Okay? And in this passage, we see Elohim used for all gods, like the Ozzy Osbourne kind of God. And the Old Testament recognizes that there's different kinds of gods. And it calls them the Elohim, okay? I wanted to establish this in our minds when Jesus says in John 12:44-45, he that believes on me does not believe on me, but believes on him who sent me. And he who sees me does not see me, but sees him who sent me. He's expressing who he was in the flesh, his identity, and how he is one with the invisible God, that he is the self-existing I am. Yes, Jesus took on a body of flesh. And yes, as a man, he subjected himself to the will of the invisible God. That's what the New Testament calls the Father in heaven, the invisible God. Jesus took on a body so that he could become man. He could do and overcome all the things that we can't. We cannot, and he did it for us, and we believe on him, and by believing on him, we are believing on the self-existent one, on the I am. Now, when we look at Deuteronomy 4 and Psalms 100 and Kings and Psalms 97, we're able to discover several truths. First, the name Elohim and Jehovah are wholly interchangeable. Jehovah is the ultimate and only God, and Elohim is the ultimate and only Jehovah. Second, Elohim is a title and not a proper noun. Remember, it can even be applied to Ozzy or Satan. And okay, with all that in place, Jesus cries out, believe on me, and you believe on him who sent me. It's my hope to spend the next few minutes proving that this babe in the manger that we celebrate on this day, on the 25th, which was not the day, but that we say, and we can prove through Scripture, that that babe in the manger was completely Elohim and completely Yahweh and completely God. And allow some statements to verify this, and we're going to give you some scriptures that lie out here for future reference. Check them out, and just listen. If you don't want to write them down, you can look at the show later. You ready? All right. God raises the dead. John 5:1 says, for as the Father raises the dead and gives life to them, so even the Son gives life to whom he will. So, and then the very same verse supports that for the Son and the Father. So both raise the dead, okay? God is the Word. You ready? John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. All right? And then in John 1:14, Jesus is the Word. Listen. And the Word became flesh. John 1:1 says the Word was God, and John 1:14 says, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. So, another one. God heals all diseases according to Psalm 103. It says, bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits, who forgives all your iniquities, who heals all your diseases. Okay, all your diseases, God, the Lord, Jehovah, Elohim, he heals all diseases. And then in Matthew 8:16, we read that Jesus, he healed all sicknesses. He took upon our infirmities. He took upon our sin. He is the healer. Another one, God never changes. In Malachi 3:6, it says, for I